Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk about my thoughts on my father's sins. And it's at first I didn't really think that much about it. And then, but the more I kept thinking about it, the more I kept thinking when I was young, and I was brought up in the United States, and this was during the 50s and 60s. And that was at the time when the children were starting to lose respect in their parents. Now, I'm not sure how that came about, if this is what we were taught in school, if it's because it was television. I was brought up on television, and so I'm not sure where that attitude came from. But like I say, that was just the starting. Now it's much more apparent now, and the thing is, when you respect your parents and you listen to your parents, it makes it so then you're more respectful towards other elders. And this is what I've noticed is people, young people, now we're talking young, I mean they'd be 50 years old, that aren't respectful to their elders. Now even me, I'm 65, and I'm respectful to my elders, and but I've always been. But then again, I was brought up in a Chinese household, no mother, so all I have is my father. So I was respectful to him, except for, like I say, there was times that I thought what he was doing was incorrect. I didn't try to correct him. I didn't say anything. I just did it differently. And one of those things was my father told me not to fight. He says, don't fight. Now this is back before Bruce Lee. So, and I say and this is in the racial days. So when I had racial problems, I would fight. And every time I would fight, I would always feel bad because my father told me not to. And so it was really difficult because my father's culture, I guess you might say it, or way of life, or moral strength led him to not using violence. So when I got into the Marines, and then the Marine says, well, hey, it's okay to fight. Matter of fact, we want you to kill people. It was really shocking. And then when you start doing the stuff, I mean, it really puts your morals to the test. Now, as I get older, and I've always understood what my father was talking about. And anybody that knows me knows that I have no temper. I stay calm. I'm real nice. But I don't like to see bullies or the strong take advantage of the weak physically. And because that's the only thing I can do, you know. I mean, mentally, I'm not all that sharp, but I make up for it in the brutality. So I do stand with the weak when it comes to violence. And but the thing was, I've always felt bad to be like that, and it wasn't until, like I say, really, I'd say probably after my children. After my children went to college, I was like 40 years old. When they went off to college, that's when I started training SWAT teams. So I could see the value of violence. And so I that's what I used. That's what I did. I taught them violence, how to use violence, and so now what that was is I'm not doing what my father brought me up to do and to be, and it's basically the same thing with my children, and I never preached for them to do as I have never done that. But I've always preached to them to do the right thing, to take personal responsibility. Don't be mentally manipulated into doing stupid things. When you do stupid things, you do it by choice. Take responsibility and you correct it if need be. So, in my particular case, I am not a reflection of my father. My father, I am on when it comes to the nice part. He was everything that's nice and gentle from me is a reflection from my father. And I say that I've heard people say, well, they don't, even a race of people. They don't like a race of people. And I've always wondered, I can't quite figure out why, but I see many different races. I get around. And I don't have that, but I do realize certain races have certain traits. I understand that. And some of these traits run contrary to my beliefs and my morals, and we just have to work our way through it. It's not that big a deal for me. Now, like I say, through the 50s and 60s during the racial days, a lot of people that I would have to go up against carried the sins of their father. Now, I don't know, because back in those days, like I say, there was black or white restrooms and white restaurants and white all kinds of stuff, and then there was colored whatever. That you saw the pictures of the bathrooms, and see, all that kind of put me in a funny spot because I'm not white and I'm not black, so I wasn't sure what to do. So it was a confusing time for me, and my father didn't help me out any on it. He allowed me to find out all this stuff on my own, as long as I don't fight. I don't use violence. So it was a tough thing. In other words, what I'm saying is we have that power of choice. I've made a video on the power of choice, and we choose. And sometimes we have good family morals and values that we can look at and we can follow. Sometimes we don't have that luxury, but that's no excuse to say, well, I'm an asshole because I was brought up around assholes. That's no excuse. We choose to stay on this path. We choose to follow our father's sins, or we choose to look for something different and try to apply what is best for us. And that's basically what I've done with my whole life. I say I lost my father at 25. So, and that was like 3 years after I got married. So I didn't have the parental guidance when it was my turn to be a parent. So that's why I depended a lot on my wife. And I've come to believe most of us have come from dysfunctional families. And I really don't know how to describe that, but I'm really starting to believe that. And the difference is when we take personal responsibility, even as a parent. So as a father, we have to take that responsibility of being a good man and showing a good example. And I tell you, it started at that. And then I thought, when the kids grew up, I thought that would be the end of it. But then I had to be an example of a good husband and a good man. And the funny thing was, it was in the eyes of my wife. You know, I mean, what does a woman know about being a man? So it wasn't all that easy to please her. But we have to make these choices. We have to make these decisions. And we don't have to better ourselves. We don't have to. You can be an asshole. There's plenty of them out there. But like I say, that's the easy part. There's always the easy path, and there's the path that will richen your life. There's a path there that will change your whole view of how life is. And but you have to be open to it, and you have to be willing to take the harder path. Easy convenience isn't always the way to go. Don't forget, we make our own sins. We are not our Father's sins. This is Mike, NoStressMike.com.